I love giving hot takes. Like, Subway is an S tier fast food place. Like, hey, I like eating fresh. But I'm here to discuss Omega Strikers opinions, and I'm hoping I'll get some keyboards typing, especially the tier list at the end of the video. But before that, let me give the coldest take in saying Omega Strikers is a fire game. It got my brother, aka Daddy, and his girlfriend, aka Pig Bear, to finally play a game that isn't a gacha game with me. So that moves us to our first hot take, and I think there isn't enough goalie variety. I see a lot of Dubu and Kai and even a pinch of Atlas, but that seems to be about it. I'd really like some more experimental picks like Luna, Era, and even Estelle to show up in my games, but I'm really not seeing it, and when I do, it's only in high elo that they succeed. What I'm trying to say is I want another really intuitive goalie, so I don't see Dubu in every other game. So next, I'm pretty meh about the skins. They're solid, but I know they have the person who designed the KDA and Star Guardians for League on the Omega Strikers team, so I expected more. Is that wrong to say? To be fair, you probably don't want to change your characters up too drastically with their skins this early into the game's life cycle because people are still getting acquainted with these characters. But in the future, I want something crazy. I want something different, something more than a recoloring. I want Magical Girl Juno, or I want Hell's Kitchen Dubu. Alright, so a big complaint from a lot of people is the game lacks depth. And in my opinion, I actually really disagree with this. I think a lot of players come from games like League where the barrier to entry is super high and it's tough getting into, and they assume because Omega Strikers is an easy game to get into that it also makes the gameplay shallow, which I don't think is the case. It definitely can look that way at a passing glance, but when you get into a game and start seeing all the intricacies with all the characters and the different interactions, things start to click and it almost becomes a bit of a chess match, which I think is really cool. Okay, there's potential this take's not that hot, but I don't like that the trainings are locked to start. I think this should be available off rip. The saving grace though is it's super easy to get coins in the game, especially at the start. So unlocking characters and unlocking those trainings aren't really that big of a deal, but I wish at least the trainings were free off rip. Then my last take before the tier list is I think the balance is actually really good. Especially in MOBAs, people like to complain about the balance, and since this has so many MOBA aspects, I assume the same's going to happen. And most players have a character or two that they say is Omega OP and they need reworked, but honestly, it's kind of a get good angle. It feels like if you learn the characters and play them yourself, then you kind of figure out what they're good at and what they struggle with and how you can counter them. And with that being said, I'm going to do what no man should dare to do, and I'm going to take a new game and make a tier list for the characters. With only like 20-30 hours of gameplay, here's what I came up with. So starting off the tier list, I'm only going S through C, so I have 4 tiers. There's only 10 characters, so that's about right. And the only character I have in C tier is actually Drakkar. The old lizard man can go invisible, but a lot of the time when he does, it's a little predictable. And it also feels like the only time he can launch people off the map with his shotgun is if they're like right next to the edge. So if you're playing with like super alert people, you shouldn't have too hard of a time playing against him. But maybe there's some hidden tech that I haven't found out, but he's at the bottom so far. I'm sorry, Drakkar mains. Next up is Atlas. I think Atlas is really good, especially when you're trying to counter like a hard brawler on the other team, like a Juliet or an X. But if that's not the other team's game plan, I'd much rather have a lot of the other cast over Atlas, but I still think he's a solid pick. Then we have Era. I know a lot of people get frustrated going against this character, but her ult is so telegraphed. It has an arrow on top of the big circle of death telling you it's going this way, and if you're an alert keeper, you're probably not going to get shoved into the net too much. I think she does fit the supportive role well, but again, I'd rather have a lot of the cast over her. So next up is A tier, and with A tier, I actually have 4 people in this tier, and the first one is going to be Dubu. I think he's an all-around solid keeper, and if you're new to the game or you're a veteran, you can just kind of use those fundamentals to your advantage. Every once in a while, the puck will get stuck behind your ramen bowls and you'll own goal it, but that's okay. I think he's just all around solid, all around great. Then I have Kai. I think Kai is really flexible. You can run him in the goal and you can also take him forward. With how versatile he is, I think it's a really good character to main because you can flex either position, but also I think he excels in both positions. He wins a lot of poke battles, can shove people off the map, and I think his goalie is just reliable as Dubu's, if not more, from a higher skilled player. Next up in A tier is Luna, and I put her here because I think her abilities are amazing, especially with the eject button training. You can make a lot of power plays and just make your way around the map so quickly, and her ult is great for pushing people off the map. But why only A tier, you say? Her cooldowns are so long. It feels like some points of the game, I'm just kind of biding my time, waiting to get back out there. Some of the trainings make it more manageable, but compared to some of the S tier characters, I'm waiting for these cooldowns to come up. And then last in A tier is actually X. A lot of people hate him, a lot of people ban him, and a lot of people say this character's OP. And I think he's a really good brawler, and I think he does what he does well. But he lacks a bit in mobility, which leads me to S tier, and leads me to our first S tier character, Juliet. I've seen a lot of Juliets at the top of the leaderboards, and it's clear why. She just does what X does a little bit better. I think people get annoyed because X is a lot more straightforward, and I think he's easier. But when you get Juliet's combos down, and you really get that dash punch landing, it feels so good. But she is a bit of a high risk, high reward, because if you don't quite have her mastered, you can find yourself being a little useless. While if you're playing X, no matter how good you are, I feel like you can make an impact and at least give the team a few power plays. But yeah, high skill Juliet, always gonna be an S. Next in S, I have Estelle. I think she's best at the poke mage archetype. Her spells are really effective, really good at getting that last hit to put the ball into the net, but also the cooldowns are pretty forgiving. Along with all that, she has solid mobility too with her blink. And I've definitely seen a lot of Estelle's running amok, and it's clear why, it's clear. And then, this one might be a little biased, but I think Juno's S tier. I love this character. Maybe you can argue she's more of just like a noob pub stomper, but damn dude, Juno goes hard when you get the hang of her. The fact that you can control where the slime hits the puck is huge. You have so many opportunities for trick plays. You can get shut down if they kind of understand the concept, but I think she has so much room for outplay, so much. But that's how I feel. I'm excited a month from now to make a video like this again and look how stupid this tier list was. But for now, I'm gonna try to stand by these opinions. Go easy on me in the comments. I'm a fragile man, but thank you guys for watching. We'll have another Omega Strikers video out tomorrow, so if you're looking forward to that, hit the subscribe button. That's all. I'll see you guys.